In the cold silence of Mars, beneath layers of red dust and forgotten tunnels, humanity's secret burned brighter than ever. The Galactic Council had forbidden them from building warships after the Terran uprising, calling humans too dangerous, too emotional, and too unpredictable. For decades, Earth obeyed. The stars were closed to them except for trade and science. Humans were allowed to explore but never to defend. But deep below the Martian surface, a group of engineers and soldiers refused to accept that. They worked in secret, hidden under an abandoned mining colony. They called their project Titanborn, a dream carved from steel, sweat, and stubborn hope. Commander Rhea Calder stood at the heart of the secret hangar. Her uniform was worn, her hands scarred from work. The hum of machines surrounded her, echoing through the vast cavern. Sparks flew from welding torches, engines rumbled in test runs, and the smell of hot metal filled the air. She watched as workers tightened the last bolts on a massive metal structure. It looked like a sleeping beast waiting to wake. 3 more sections and she's ready for ignition, said Chief Engineer Mason Holt, wiping grease from his face. Rhea nodded. Good, we don't get second chances. Outside, the Martian wind howled over empty deserts. The surface was quiet, but everyone knew that silence could break at any moment. The Council's patrol drones often scanned Mars for illegal activity. One signal, one energy spike, and their secret would be exposed. Yet, even knowing that none of them stopped, for years, humanity had been treated like children by the alien races, powerful species that ruled the galaxy. They said humans were too young to understand balance, too emotional to be trusted with weapons. But deep inside, humans knew the truth. The Council feared them not because of their violence, but because of their will. Rhea walked along the length of the ship, touching the cold metal of the hull. It wasn't finished yet, but even incomplete, the Titanborn felt alive. It was more than a ship. It was a statement. She stopped near the engine bay, where a young technician was adjusting the plasma coils. "How's the core stabilizer?" she asked. The young man looked up nervously. "Stable for now, ma'am. But the power readings are off the charts. If we fire it up, every satellite around Mars will pick up the signal." Rhea's lips curved slightly. "Then we make it count." The crew worked day and night. They slept in short shifts, ate whatever they could, and barely saw the sun. But no one complained. Every bolt they tightened, every system they built, felt like rebellion. Humanity wasn't allowed to dream anymore, yet here they were, dreaming louder than ever. At night, when most of the workers were asleep, Rhea stood alone on the observation platform. She looked at the dark hull of Titanborn, her reflection faint in its steel surface. She remembered the day her family died. Years ago, during a border conflict, alien ships attacked a human colony. The Council had promised protection. They did nothing. They said it was not within jurisdiction. That was the day Rhea stopped believing in their peace. Now, she carried that pain like fuel. "Commander," Mason's voice broke the silence behind her. "You should get some rest." She didn't turn. "Do you really think we'll pull this off?" He hesitated. "If anyone can, it's you. But if they find us, they will," she said softly. "And when they do, I want them to see what humanity can build, even when the galaxy tries to break us." The next morning, the hangar was alive with energy. Final checks were done. The engineers prepared to test the ship's engines for the first time. The Titanborn stood tall, its blue lights glowing faintly, casting reflections across the steel floor. "Powering primary core," Mason shouted. The crew held their breath. A deep hum filled the cavern as the core began to spin. Lights flickered, and the air itself seemed to vibrate. Then, with a sudden surge, the engines roared to life. Blue energy flared across the walls, brighter than lightning. The entire base shook. For the first time in 100 years, a human-built warship had come alive. The cheers began softly, then grew louder. Workers hugged each other, shouting and crying. Some dropped to their knees. Rhea just stood there, eyes locked on the ship, her heart pounding. Then Mason's voice cracked through the joy. "Commander, I'm picking up something. Council satellites, energy spike detected." The cheers stopped instantly. On the main screen, red warnings flashed. Surveillance drones were moving in orbit. The Council had seen the power surge. "Shut it down," Rhea ordered calmly. The engines powered off and the lights dimmed. The hangar fell silent again, except for the hum of cooling systems. Everyone looked at her, waiting for orders, fear in their eyes. Rhea took a deep breath. "They know we're here now. There's no going back," Mason swallowed. "What do we do, Commander?" Rhea looked up at the massive ship towering over them. "We finish it," she said. "No matter what comes." Outside, the red planet turned slowly under a cold sun. High above, alien satellites adjusted their course, scanning for signs of rebellion. But deep below the surface, humanity's dream still burned, a forbidden fire that refused to die. And somewhere beyond the stars, in the silent corridors of power, the Galactic Council began to whisper the one word they had hoped never to hear again. Humans. The next morning, Mars was no longer silent. Invisible eyes had turned toward the red planet. Hundreds of satellites shifted orbit, their sensors glowing faintly as they scanned the desert surface. The Galactic Council had detected the unauthorized energy burst. In the cold halls of their high command, the decision was swift: send a warning to the humans, then destroy the source. Commander Rhea Calder stood before the Titanborn, staring at its unfinished hull. The hangar lights flickered, and for a moment she thought about how close they had come to completing it. Just a few more weeks, and the ship would have been ready for space. Now every second mattered. Mason Holt, the chief engineer, ran to her, holding a tablet. His hands were trembling. "They know, Rhea. We intercepted a Council transmission, code Priority 1. They're sending warships to Mars. How long until they arrive?" 2 hours, maybe less." Rhea looked at the Titanborn again. The ship was a masterpiece, born from desperation. Half of its weapons weren't even installed yet. The armor was incomplete, but its engines worked. That was enough for her. "We can't run," Mason said. "They'll find us anywhere we go." "We're not running," Rhea replied quietly. "We finish the ship, and if they come, we show them why humanity should never have been silenced." The command center buzzed with voices as her crew worked. They rerouted power, sealed the hangar doors, and armed whatever defense turrets they had. The underground base felt smaller than ever, its walls trembling with each pulse of the ship's core. The first signal from the Council arrived soon after. A transmission filled the air with static. Then a deep alien voice echoed through the speakers. "Human commander of unauthorized vessel, this is the Galactic Council. You are in violation of Interstellar Code 47. Cease construction and surrender all data immediately. This is your only warning." Rhea stood tall, her jaw set. "Transmit reply," she ordered. Her communications officer hesitated. "Commander, if you answer, they'll pinpoint our signal." "They already have." The officer nodded and opened the channel. Rhea stepped forward. "This is Commander Rhea Calder of Mars Base 17. You claim we are in violation, but tell me, what crime is it to build something that protects our people? The last time humans trusted you, we were left to die." There was silence. Then the alien voice returned, colder than before. "Humanity was given peace. Do not mistake mercy for weakness." "Peace?" Rhea's voice trembled, not from fear but fury. "You gave us cages and called them peace. You banned our ships, stripped our weapons, and told us to stay small. But humans don't stay small. Not forever." The transmission cut abruptly. For a moment, no one spoke. The room was filled only with the hum of the reactors and the pounding of hearts. Then Mason said softly, "You just declared war on the Council." Rhea looked up at the ceiling, as if seeing through the rock, through the sky, through the stars themselves. "No," she said. "They declared war on us the day they told us to stop dreaming." 2 hours later, the ground began to shake. Council ships entered Mars' orbit, casting long shadows across the planet's red plains. Their metallic hulls shimmered like mirrors, and each vessel carried enough firepower to vaporize a city. Inside the hangar, the crew scrambled. Engineers loaded fuel. Mechanics tightened the last bolts, and weapons techs prayed over systems that had never been tested. Mason's voice echoed through the comms. "Commander, they've landed reconnaissance drones. If they find the main entrance, then we seal it," Rhea said. "Everyone to defense positions." The base darkened as they switched to stealth mode. Outside, the alien drones glided silently over the sand, scanning for heat signatures. Inside, humans held their breath. Then, without warning, one of the drones detected a faint pulse from the Titanborn's reactor. A red light blinked. "Contact!" Mason shouted. "They've locked onto us." Rhea slammed her fist on the console. "Activate the outer turrets. Buy us time." Gunfire thundered through the tunnels as automated cannons opened fire. The drones exploded one by one, but it was too late. The Council warships had their target. A beam of blue energy struck the Martian surface, shaking the entire mountain. Dust and debris rained from the ceiling as alarms blared. The hangar doors groaned under pressure, structural integrity down to 60%. Mason yelled, "Get everyone on board," Rhea commanded. "If this base collapses, we take off or we die trying." The crew raced through the corridors, climbing into the Titanborn. The engines roared to life, filling the hangar with a brilliant blue glow. Council ships fired again. This time, the blast cracked open the rock above. A shaft of sunlight pierced the darkness, cutting through the dust like a blade. Inside the cockpit, Rhea sat in the command chair for the first time. The seat felt heavy, as if the ship itself was waiting for her. She placed her hand on the console. "Titanborn," she whispered. "Time to wake up." The control lights flared to life, responding like it could hear her voice. The main engines powered up. "Commander," Mason said over the comms, "the launch tunnel's blocked. We can't escape. Then we make our own way." She pushed the throttle forward. The Titanborn's engines unleashed a thunderous blast. The force tore through rock and steel. The hangar ceiling exploded outward, sending dust and metal flying into the Martian sky. The ship emerged through fire and smoke, scarred, incomplete, but alive. The alien warships above turned their cannons toward it. But before they could fire, the Titanborn launched its first plasma salvo. The blue beam sliced through one of the Council vessels, tearing it apart in a blinding flash. Mason's voice cracked through the comms, half terrified, half amazed. "It works! The weapons actually work!" Rhea didn't smile. Her eyes were cold and steady. "Of course they do. Humans always make things work, especially when we're not supposed to." As the Council fleet regrouped, the Titanborn rose higher, engines burning bright against the stars. It wasn't a full victory, not yet, but it was a beginning. For the first time in a century, humanity had defied the galaxy's law and lived to tell the tale. And far away, in the grand halls of the Galactic Council, fear began to spread, because they all knew what came next. Humanity had broken the chains. Now they would build an army. The Titanborn drifted into the thin Martian sky, leaving a trail of fire and defiance behind it. Below, the underground base collapsed into rubble, the last traces of secrecy buried beneath red dust. Humanity was no longer hiding. Commander Rhea Calder stood in the command deck, eyes locked on the stars beyond the viewport. The ship was shaking. Systems were unstable and the alarms screamed, but her heart was steady. "Status?" she asked, voice calm amid the chaos. "Shields at 40%, Mason replied, his voice trembling through the comms. "Weapons holding, but we're losing power from the secondary reactors." "Keep us steady," Rhea said. "We are not falling now." Through the glass, she saw 3 Council destroyers moving in formation. Sleek, silver ships, perfect and polished, like predators circling prey. Their lights glowed blue against the darkness of space. The alien commander's voice echoed through the comms again. "Human vessel Titanborn, you have violated the laws of the Galactic Council. Power down your engines and surrender immediately or face destruction." Rhea stared at the console for a long moment. Then, slowly, she pressed the comm button. "This is Commander Rhea Calder," she said. "We will not surrender. We will not kneel, and if you come closer, I promise." You will regret ever calling humans weak." The alien commander's laughter was soft and cruel. "Then you will die, like all your kind before." The line went dead. The first energy beam hit seconds later. The Titanborn's hull screamed as blue fire tore across its surface. Sparks exploded in the command deck, lighting up faces streaked with sweat and fear. "Impact on port side," shouted Mason. "Hull breach in Section 12. We're losing air." "Seal it," Rhea ordered, "and fire everything we have." The Titanborn's cannons roared to life. Bright streams of plasma cut through the void, burning holes through one of the enemy ships. The blast illuminated the darkness, turning the battlefield into a glowing dance of light and fire. For a moment, silence. Then, another explosion. The alien vessel spun out of control, pieces breaking apart in a silent burst of debris. A cheer rose from the human crew, raw and full of disbelief. "We hit them, we actually hit them." But Rhea didn't celebrate. Her eyes were on the sensors. More signals, dozens of them, appeared on the radar. Reinforcements. "They're calling backup," Mason said. "We can't fight that many." Rhea took a deep breath. "Then we run, but not before we make them remember this day." The Titanborn turned sharply, thrusters burning. Alien ships pursued, firing relentlessly. The stars filled with streaks of blue and white energy. Explosions rippled through the void, painting the darkness in colors of war. Inside the ship, corridors filled with smoke. Sparks fell like rain. Technicians ran between panels, shouting codes, sealing doors, patching leaks with their bare hands. A young gunner named Tessa gripped her controls tightly. Her eyes were red from exhaustion, her voice hoarse. "Commander, I've got a clean shot on their lead ship." "Take it," Rhea said. Tessa's finger pressed the trigger. A beam of pure plasma shot forward, cutting straight into the alien ship's reactor core. A flash of light filled the sky, blinding every sensor. The alien destroyer erupted, breaking apart in a storm of debris. For a second, it looked like sunrise on Mars. The blast threw the Titanborn off balance. Mason yelled over the noise, "Engines! Overheating! We can't take another hit like that." Rhea braced herself. "Divert power from life support to shields." "Commander, that'll drop oxygen levels." She looked around at her crew. "Better we breathe less than die fast." The order was obeyed. The ship dimmed, lights flickering to half power. The crew moved slower, air thinner, but the Titanborn kept fighting. Half an hour later, the battlefield was littered with wreckage. 5 alien ships destroyed, 3 heavily damaged. The Titanborn floated through smoke and debris, armor blackened, systems broken, but still alive. Mason slumped in his chair, barely able to speak. "We did it. We actually survived." "No," Rhea said quietly, staring at the endless stars ahead. "We proved them wrong." A message light blinked on the console. Rhea tapped it, expecting another council threat. But it wasn't the council. It was from the colony of EOS 9, one of the outer human settlements. A man's voice filled the ship. "To any human ship out there, this is Governor Halden of EOS 9. We're under attack by the Krix Dominion. The council said they can't interfere. Please, if anyone can hear us, help us." The room fell silent. Everyone looked at Rhea. They all knew what this meant. Leaving Mars was one thing, but flying into open war against the Dominion, without support, without allies, that was suicide. Rhea's voice broke the silence. "Plot a course to EOS 9. Mason stared at her. "Commander, we barely have fuel. The engines are cracked. The crew's exhausted. We can't fight another battle." Rhea turned toward him, her expression calm but unyielding. "You think I don't know that? The council left those people to die, just like they left us. If we don't stand for them, who will?" Mason looked at the rest of the crew. Not one person objected. He sighed. "Course locked." As the Titanborn aligned toward the outer colonies, the stars seemed to shimmer brighter, as if watching. Rhea took a deep breath and looked out at the vastness ahead. They wanted us to stay small, she whispered, but humans don't stay small. We adapt, we rise. The ship's engines came alive once more, glowing like twin suns. The Titanborn accelerated into the dark, cutting across the void with a burning trail of blue light. In the distance, far beyond human sight, alien worlds watched the transmission of the battle replayed across countless networks. Every empire, every race, saw the same message. A human warship had risen. The galaxy trembled, and somewhere deep within, the council chambers, the alien leaders sat in silence, realizing what had been unleashed. The humans were back, and this time they weren't asking for permission. The stars blurred as the Titanborn crossed the void. Its hull still smoked from battle, panels scarred, engines burning unevenly, but it kept moving. Every pulse of its thrusters was an act of defiance. Inside the ship, silence hung heavy. The crew moved slowly, their faces pale under dim lights. They had fought, bled, and won a battle they were never meant to fight. Now they were heading toward another. The distress signal from EOS 9 had stopped. The last message was only a scream, then static. Commander Rhea Calder stood in front of the main screen, arms crossed tightly, watching as the planet came into view. It was burning. "God," whispered Tessa, the young gunner. They hit the whole colony. Flames covered the surface. Cities once filled with families were now black scars. The Krix Dominion's warships hovered above the atmosphere, harvesting energy, taking prisoners. Mason Holt walked to Rhea's side, his voice low. "Commander, there are at least 7 enemy ships in orbit. We can't take them all." "Not like this." Rhea didn't answer. Her eyes stayed locked on the planet below. "How many survivors?" "Scanners show life signs, but weak," Mason said. "Mostly underground, probably hiding in shelters." Rhea turned toward her crew. "Then we're not leaving them." The bridge was silent. Everyone looked at her, waiting for her next words. They all knew the risk. The Titanborn was barely functional. Another direct hit could destroy it. But the look in Rhea's eyes, the fire made hesitation impossible. "Prepare all weapons," she ordered. "We hit them hard and fast. We remind them what humans are made of." As the Titanborn entered orbit, alarms screamed again. The Krix ships turned, locking weapons on the human vessel. Their commander, a towering reptilian creature with obsidian scales, appeared on a holographic screen. "So," he hissed, "the humans built their forbidden toy. I wondered when one of you would crawl out of your hole." Rhea stepped closer to the screen, face calm. "Then let this be your warning. Humanity doesn't crawl. We rise." The alien's mouth curled into something like a smile. "You rise only to burn." The transmission cut off, and the sky lit up. Beams of red energy streaked toward the Titanborn. The ship's shields flickered under the assault. The deck shook violently, consoles sparking, shields down to 30%. Mason shouted, "Return fire!" Rhea commanded. The Titanborn's cannons unleashed everything they had. Twin plasma streams tore across the blackness, slamming into the lead Krix ship. The alien vessel exploded, a wave of debris scattering across orbit. Cheers filled the command deck, but Rhea didn't stop. "Keep firing!" "We don't stop until that planet is safe." The battle that followed was chaos. The Titanborn danced through enemy fire, its engines screaming, weapons glowing like suns. One by one, the Krix ships fell, each explosion lighting up the void like stars being reborn. But the Titanborn was breaking apart. The hull tore open in 2 sections, fires spreading across the lower decks. Oxygen levels dropped. Warning lights turned the bridge blood red. "Commander," Mason shouted over the noise, "if we keep this up, the ship won't hold." Rhea gripped the console so hard her knuckles turned white. "Then we make it count." Hours later, the smoke began to clear. 6 Krix warships were gone. The last one, their command vessel, was fleeing. Rhea stood on the bridge, her uniform stained with ash, her voice steady but quiet. "Lock weapons on the final target." "Commander, our power cells are empty," Mason said. "We've got one last shot, and after that—" "Nothing." Rhea's eyes softened. "Then one is all we need." She pressed the firing control herself. The Titanborn's main cannon charged, its light filling the entire deck. Every remaining watt of energy, every drop of human defiance focused into one perfect beam. The shot pierced the darkness. It hit the Crick's flagship dead center, tearing it apart. The explosion lit up the night side of EOS 9 like a sunrise. And then, silence. The ship drifted. Systems died one by one. Lights dimmed. For a moment, the Titanborn was just a shadow against the stars. Rhea leaned back in her chair, breathing heavily. "Status report." Mason looked at his console. "Power's gone. We're floating, but we did it. The Dominion's fleet is gone." Rhea closed her eyes. "Good. Then let the galaxy see what they called impossible." Hours later, the Titanborn's final broadcast went out. It was a simple message, carried across every known communication network, bouncing from station to station until even the farthest colonies heard it. Rhea appeared on the transmission, hair disheveled, face streaked with soot, eyes bright with determination. "This is Commander Rhea Calder of the human ship Titanborn," she said. Her voice was tired, but it carried the weight of something greater. "The Galactic Council told us not to build warships. They said it was forbidden. They said humanity was dangerous." She paused, looking down for a moment, then lifted her gaze. "They were right. We are dangerous, to tyrants, to invaders, to anyone who thinks we will bow. We don't obey fear. We don't surrender to rules made to chain us. We build, we fight, we endure." Her words spread like fire across the stars. On distant human colonies, workers stopped their shifts to listen. On mining outposts, people stood in silence, tears in their eyes. Even in alien worlds, the message echoed in confusion and awe. Rhea continued, her voice growing stronger. "If you're human and you can hear me, stand up. Don't wait for permission. Don't let anyone tell you what you can't build or who you can't be. The galaxy forgot who we are. Let them remember." She leaned closer to the camera. "We are humanity. We don't obey limits." The screen went black. Days later, ships began to rise from forgotten shipyards. Hidden engineers, miners, and colonists started building again, not for war, but for freedom. Across the galaxy, humanity was awakening, and in the shadows of alien empires, fear began to spread. Because they all knew what came next, the humans were uniting. The Titanborn had become more than a ship. It had become a symbol, somewhere deep in the void, drifting quietly. The Titanborn's hull reflected the starlight, broken, beautiful, and eternal. Humanity's message had been delivered, and the galaxy would never forget it.